everyone, and welcome back to Shooting the Breeze, where today, shaking things up and doing something a little bit different today for the channel. What we're doing is we're going to dedicate an episode to a full deep dive into an album that I feel deserves way more attention than it got at its time of release. I am, of course, talking about Darren Hayes' This Delicate Thing We've Made. It's ambitious, it's emotional, and it's electronically stunning. It's a double album, and it takes us on a proper journey through time, memory, and a lot of self-discovery. If you know, you know. If you don't, well, you're in for something special. So, sit down, grab a cuppa, let's unpack the themes, the production, the standout tracks, some of my personal favourites, and why I feel that this album still resonates almost 2 decades later. Whether you're a long-time fan or you're hearing about this record for the first time, stick with us because you're about to take a journey into this delicate thing we've made. The album was released in 2007, right? Almost 2 decades later. But first and foremost, let me just say, right, that no matter like no review that I could write, no review that I could record could do this album justice as far as I'm concerned. So forgive me as I spew all these thoughts out now in one quick blah. As I think I would go crazy trying to write or do the perfect review because, you know, music is so subjective. It's too big of a job, I think, but that's just me. It's such a scary thing to try to do an album review because with music being so subjective, you're never going to get it right or you're never going to please everyone. I can't even imagine how exhausting the creative process was for this album. You can hear a lot of like the tears and sweat and blood was poured into this double album. And because at the time Darren was an independent artist, Sony had terminated his contract. As it happens, I felt that was the best thing to happen. You're free from any major label pressures because you can imagine, all the red tape and stuff, and you can indulge in yourself as an artist, as an independent artist, you could, make the album for you. And, I feel that's important. I feel that's pivotal. This delicate thing, it's such a deeply personal and conceptually rich album because it's a double album. Disc 2 contains the emotional side, and disc 1 focuses more on the healing, the acceptance side of things. So we're doing disc 1 today, and tomorrow we'll move on to disc 2 because it is late o'clock. So in disc 1, Darren uses a mix of electronic production, a lot of orchestra, and the lyrics are just complex and emotional. So do yourself a favor, listen to the album, and believe me, you'll understand what I'm talking about. I think it could have made a single album, but that's just me. It's long, it's indulgent, there's something for everybody on the album, but again, that's just me. It's got some of the most, for me again, it's got some of the most built-in pop moments. But more importantly for me, I asked the question, I've always asked the question, why didn't Sony want a bar of this? I've never understood that to this very day. And if he's no Darren or he's don't, that's fine. But to me, his voice, mwah, and it remains his most powerful tool on this album. He uses it to great effect. There's a few nods to some of his heroes, like Kate Bush is high pitched, some Sinead O'Connor, some Prince. That I'll touch on that as we go on. But his voice is so distinctive. As you know, Darren can sing in a falsetto, which is up there. I could only dream of that. So, going track by track, we're going to start off with track number 1, which is called A Fear of Falling Under. To me, the theme behind this one is all about vulnerability, and it's all about wanting to fall in love, but you're scared to. It's all about the fear of falling in love. I feel it's about the vulnerability that comes with it. The music, the drum beats, the layered production, the synthesizer, it's a beautiful, beautiful opener. There's haunting melodies on it as well. The melodies and the music is almost battling each other, and it reminds me of the internal conflict between wanting to fall in love and being absolute shit scared to. Believe me, I've been there. I'm kind of there now, but it's another story. And I feel that this is such a perfect opener for the journey that the album takes you on, because it is pure whoosh. This is the perfect opener, and it kind of, for me anyway, it kind of picks up where his last album, The Tension and the Spark, left off, and I will be doing a review on that as well. And the end of Fear of Falling Under just segues beautifully into track number 2. Because at the end of Fear of Falling Under, the lyrics are, "What came first, love, heart?" And and who would have thought, he asks himself, who would have thought that love so belated could save me? And we're going to get into that right now, because to me, the theme of this is all about finding love, maybe where you don't particularly expect it. And sometimes that's the best kind of love. This is a ballad, by the way, so if you know Darren or you know Savage Garden, the ballads are what he's famous for. I think it's all about finding love where it wasn't expected. The lyrics, the vocal delivery is on point, and the strings on it, the electronic layers to it are just beautifully done. Beautifully done. And again, I don't want to give too much away without you listening to it, but that takes us into track number 3, Waking the Monster, where he's talking about his inner demons and self-destruction. The tracks, it starts off quite heavy with the drums, and it's almost aggressive. And we're introduced to a character in this one. We're introduced to the professor, who is locked away behind closed doors, building something, and we don't know what. There's bits where he's talking about a phonographic needle, a stereo heart, a bit of a truck. He's putting together a time machine. It would be great, but the professor's in this lab and he's working tirelessly to create this intricate contraption, and that brings us into how to build a time machine. I feel these two tracks always go perfectly hand in hand, because in how to build a time machine, this is when he gets on to regret and longing to fix the past. Now, I would love nothing more than to go back and fuck the people over that's fucked me over, or fix my mistakes, but you can't. So this one is all about a poignant exploration. In this one, it's all about a poignant exploration of the desire to undo past mistakes. The percussion on this is sublime. It invokes an imaginary time machine. At least it does to me. I could be chatting shite. The lyrics touch on the loss and trying to rewrite history. As a track, it's something that I never really noticed until I was a wee bit older. But as time goes on, you get a bit wiser. You kind of think that it's a dream to go back and change the past and do all that. There's a line in the song where, he's standing in front of a mirror talking to his younger self, and he goes, "Tell my reflection, it's not your fault." Um, which it's a tattoo there. It's such a touching song. It's beautiful. I struggle to listen to it, to be fair, without getting quite choked up. Especially that line when he goes, "Tell my reflection that it's not your fault." Because Darren grew up in an abusive house with his dad and stuff, but that's not my story to tell. And that leads us into track number 5, Casey, which is all nostalgia. This is his kind of time to tell you another story about. It's a tribute to a childhood friend that just so happens to be his sister Tracy, who is his best friend, even to this day. They're sitting in her car and they're listening to music, and they're not in a world of danger at home anymore. The melodies are beautiful, and the melodies are pretty simple because it's some of the best melodies that I've heard, and the strings are just divine. The string section on that is just mwah. And because it's written about his sister, I feel that anybody can be a Casey or anybody can have a Casey. It's all about having that someone that you can look up to, and that one person that just gives you a glimpse of hope, because that's all we ask for is hope. And and rather than the life that you were born in, sometimes I think it's nice just to picture a better one. And you could be anywhere you want to be in life. You could picture yourself, yeah, you could picture a better life, but that doesn't mean the one that you've got is rubbish. Just there's no words to describe how beautiful and perfect that I feel this song is. I think he set out to create a beautiful pop song, and I think he absolutely knocked it out the park with Casey. But that's just me. Track number 6, we're looking at Step Into the Light. This is the theme of this one. It's about liberation and self-acceptance. It's an uplifting anthem about coming out of the shadows and embracing authenticity. It's pure energetic, it's bouncy, it's dancey. Why this was never big in the clubs, I will never know. To me, the song reflects on the feeling of release and empowerment. It's still one of my favourite songs to put my headphones on, turn the volume up, and just escape. As and if you've not done that with any song, if you've never put on a set of headphones and listened to a song, I would honestly, you're missing out on this one. It's a piece of music that I feel flawlessly constructed, and I don't say that lightheartedly. And it meshes well with Darren's voice. There's a few bits that's high. There's a few bits that's down. It's an emotional roller coaster, which I love. And it belongs on disc 1 simply because of what is on disc 2. It would never have fitted well on disc 2. So, that brings us to number 7, Sing to Me, which the theme is comfort and emotional connection. As delicate as, it's a piano ballad, which I love pianos and I love ballads. So this was a no-brainer that I'd like this one. It's about finding solace in somebody's company. The vulnerability and the words and the delivery of the words are just superb. The arrangement in the track as well is beautifully arranged. Dan always works with beautiful, beautiful people when it comes to things like this. I don't have much to say about it other than it feels like it could have been a Savage Garden song. But again, the pianos and ballads, they go hand in hand, don't they? Track number 8, we're looking at A Conversation with God. This one is all about questioning your faith and looking for answers, which I'm sure we've all done in time. We've all done at some point. This is quite a dark, reflective song where, Darren's kind of grappling with his faith, if you will, in the song, his existence and the search for meaning. Haven't we all done that at some point? The soundscape and the lyrics convey the weight of just vulnerability. It's the best way to describe it. I'm curious. I was always curious about this track. He paints a picture of himself driving along and God, having a conversation with God about life. Screams at God about there's a few unpleasantries, shall we say, and it's a weird track. That's all I'm going to say, but it's genuinely, it is musically and lyrically beautiful. Again, these are just subjective. Brings us on to track number 9. The sun is always blinding me. This is again, it's another one about emotional overwhelming and vulnerability. So to me, this is the one that I've thought about most. The sun to me symbolises both clarity and discomfort, representing the paradox of confronting difficult truths, which again we've all had to do that, and the layered production mirrors emotional conflict between seeking light and being burned by it. Because what does the sun do? It burns. It does give me that Savage Garden feel. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but you can decide that. It's a lovely track. It's one of those kind of ones where it's just stop and smell the roses, and things will be okay, and there's beauty in everything kind of tracks, which I love because it does sit and make you listen, and it does make you sit and take note of your own life. Which leads us to track number 10. Listen, all you people. This one is beautiful, by the way. It's about unity and awakening. It's a call to arms, kind of wrapped up in pulsating electronic beats. In this one, Darren urges listeners to open their eyes and their ears, their hearts, blend, and it meshes. It blurs the line between spiritual and political undertones with a sense of urgency. It's positive. It's a positive song. It's an upbeat song as well. It's weird because in this one, it kind of it's different to his last one, which was quite really, really heavy. But this one, it certainly is different, and it uplifting in a soft, gentle, breezy, musical way. Next is the only one, which is Unconditional Love and Devotion. I love this one because it's a romantic ballad again, which he knocks these out the park. It's about finding the one, really. The simplicity and the melody and the vocals are just so pure and delicate, no pun intended, and it's simple in the way that it sounds, and the way that it's written and the way that it's produced is intricate, but it's loved. The song itself is loved, and I just wish somebody would write a song like this about me. Wouldn't that be great? Number 12 is Bombs Up in My Face. So, this is the chaos and information overload. To me, I feel this one goes hand in hand with a Savage Garden song called Affirmation. It's a frantic pace, and this is where when I was mentioning earlier on about Prince had an alter ego called Camille, who was Prince's alter ego, and it was basically his high-pitched feminine voice. This is Darren pays tribute to Prince by doing this particular song in such a range where it is high. Just giving that nod to Prince because, again, like I said, Prince was one of Darren's inspirations. So this song particularly critiques societal noise along with the struggles of finding peace. And you know, it's one of those songs that the more you listen to it, I love it with every play. I'm not a political person by any means, by any stretch of the imagination, even in my own country here. But you can't escape what's going on in the world right now. Whether you're in America, US, US, like whatever country that you're in. And it's great to know that, because Darren doesn't, I mean, his Instagram is heavy political and that's fine. But he makes his feelings clear in this song about how he feels about the state of the place. And, you know, a lot of people don't particularly relate to this track. A lot of his fans don't acknowledge this one all that often. I personally feel it's a strong track. Definitely belongs on the album. But again, that's just me. The current world, you know, that we live in is making me paranoid. As I don't like where we are, and you know, this song is about basically it's time to start giving a fuck, and that's where we are. The last song on disc 1 is called "The Great Big Disconnect." Beautiful track. It's emotional. It's about detachment and loneliness. The closing track addresses the modern, I think anyway, the modern struggle of feeling disconnected despite being surrounded by people. We've all been there at some point. Such a somber tone in the song and the track. It's beautiful. Again, it's the production highlights the emotional emptiness at the heart of the disconnect. It stands out well despite the range of the material on offer. It's a folksy pseudo protest song, if you will. For me, right, I've got visions of sitting around a campfire, somebody with a guitar just knocking this track out, and you know, um, yeah, just as a campfire feel to it. I don't know why I've always said that, but you know, for me, the album as a whole reflects Darren's exploration of vulnerability. And I think at some point we all could do with, you know, holding that mirror up to ourselves and, you know, just being like, you know, sometimes my life isn't the greatest, but I'm here. And, you know, I think just still being here when it could be so easy to not be is brave, is beautiful, and I'm glad that you're here. I am glad that you're here. Um, disc 1, that's all the tracks. But disc 1 for me, it's such a roller coaster of emotion, it's such a roller coaster of feelings. Even right now, I'm thinking about the album, and you know, I've been blessed to see Darren live now a fair few times, and he did a tour based on the album called the Time Machine Tour. I'll put all the links below, and to hear some of these songs live, honestly, guys, please look some of them up. It's weird because music has the power to save people, and I've recently discovered a couple of new artists that I maybe wouldn't have picked up on my own, but I'm always a firm believer that if somebody shows you new music, they're not just showing you new music. If somebody sends you a song and be like, "Hey, check this out," they're showing you a piece of themselves. So listen. That's it. for disc 1. Thank you for listening to me ramble on for almost half an hour. I love each and every one of you, and I will indeed see you guys down the road. Peace.